Alright, that's
Ready to go.
alright. So you guys do a lot of improv, right? And I'm wondering, and I was reading on your bio that a lot of musicians, like when you guys started playing, you were practicing 12 hours a day, working out. But I'm wondering what you could tell aspiring musicians, especially if they want to be good improv musicians, what to practice, what to focus on when you're practicing.
Oh wow, that's a really good question. First find out the music that you like to play, and try to find delve in as deep as you can to find the essence of what is it about the music that you like, and get in the habit of finding ways to inspire yourself, to find ways that's like, wow, this is exactly why I enjoy playing this music. And when you find that out for yourself, the music that you like, and you want to figure out some music that's a little bit foreign to you, you kind of approach it with the same thing, listen for it, see if you can even relate to it, and if you can find the subtleties about it that really get you excited, and then after that, it's staying inspired and practicing a bunch of hours. It's all about
12 hours a day.
Oh, it's all about the practicing. Almost just about any like virtuoso on their instrument has put in the thousands of hours, and you get a few exceptions of some really young kids who are just off the charts, and there's exceptions to every rule, but for the most part, to guarantee that that fluidity on your instrument is just paying attention to it every day, play with inspiration and without anxiety, and practicing without anxiety is pretty huge, because a lot of times, and it's almost with anything, anytime you're doing something new, if you get really scared of making mistakes, then everything that you do, the way you perform, you're performing with that same type of way of being scared to make mistakes. So you get to, so even when you're practicing, if there's something you can't do, you don't just curse and say, damn it. It's more like, I know I can do this, let me see how I can break it down for myself. Yeah, and that every note that you play is purposeful, and once you start getting in the habit of doing things in a positive way like that, then you'll have these other breakthroughs that'll come a lot faster. You just don't realize it.
All right, wow, that's great advice. Who have you been paying attention to in Colorado that people might not be aware of yet as far as musicians?
In Colorado,
Or anywhere.
Oh, okay. That might not be aware as musicians. Well, there's definitely been some groups that have come up really fast, like that group Savoy used to be in Colorado. And they're just kind of out of nowhere. It's kind of not in the jam festival scene or anything. They just went straight for electro dead mouse scene, and they just deliver really good. And Big Gigantic too. I know a lot more people know them now, but I'm actually gonna open up. Do my Profit Massive DJ set for them. But they've only been doing it for a little while, but they've made an impact on the scene. And off the top of my head, those two just strike me right away.
What would you be if you were a musician?
You know what? That's kind of like a recent thing. I thought about it before, and I don't know that I might get into like political journalism, and it's kind of weird. It's weird and out there. Well, first of all, I really can't picture my life without music. I kind of did that. I was right when I got out of high school, I went to the military for 4 years, and when I did that, it was partially to try and learn something, because all I knew how to do was drum at that point. And when I did that, all of a sudden I wasn't surrounded by musicians on a daily basis, and it was really rough. And it's kind of a longer story about that.
Okay.
But in the end, and I ended up having a great time and learning so much, and there's so much about what I learned in there that I applied to learning music, particularly on like the computer side and the software side. But so, anyways, it's really hard for me to picture doing anything but music. But I love political journalism. I don't like the political process, but always figuring out what's going on, what's truth, what's a lie, what's in between, and then to see how it's displayed, either through the news or how people speak about it. It's so fascinating, and it's really hard to figure out, but I love it.
That's awesome. I didn't know that, so
Yeah.
I changed one of my questions.
Oh no, that's all right.
Katie Couric on you. Who do you think?
Yeah. I got nothing.
Okay, that's okay. As long as you're not running.
Yeah.
Presidential.
No, actually, if that was that a serious question?
No.
Okay.
What musical project are you most proud of? What instance do you think you really surprised yourself just with your ability of musicianship? Or it can be a song or an album or a totally random something you just came up with.
Isn't a Hammond B3 back there? Just looking at that organ going, holy cow, man.
You'd have to ask the owner. How you doing? Thank you. Hold on. What am I most proud of? Or what surprised me the most? Let me think.
Or impressed you with yourself.
Impressed me with myself.
Or you just really.
It's a loaded question. Let's see. Well, there are a couple of times I've played wow. There's a couple of things. I used to do studio sessions all the time, and there were a couple of instances that came up where there wasn't a bass player there, and I played a little bit of bass when I was younger, and I was like, I'll play that bass part, and actually I wasn't really sure if I could pull it off, but the guy wasn't there, and it was you wanted this session to go on to move to the next thing. And so I busted out the bass. I didn't even really, know how to use the tuner on it and stuff. And I was just tuning it by ear, but we figured it out. And I figured out how the part of the song went. And doing that on the fly, like the same way that I approach percussion and drums, was really that was very eye-opening to me. And I was scared the whole time, but it was one of those things where you call your own bluff. I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm going to be assertive and I'm going to go for it, and let's see what I can fall on my face. And exactly. And I pulled through, and that was good. Same with sometimes when if I've done vocals on sessions too. I'm not the most confident guy on vocals, but when I got asked to do some things, then I was nicely surprised that I could step up and do things.
We have one question left.
Wait, I got one more for you.
Okay.
So I'm really sorry about the phone. So one time, I got to play this private party for some music business guy was having his birthday party, and one of his clients was Herbie Hancock, and another guy that I was playing with, and the guy that I was playing with had played with Herbie quite a few times. They weren't sure if he was going to come down or not, and they were just like, well, there's a piano there, so just be ready if he does come down. So we're doing this other set of music, kind of, yeah, exactly. I'm like, great. How do you do that? And so he did end up coming down, and it was just he played 3 songs with us, and it was such an incredible experience. But when I'm in the middle of it, I'm kind of like, oh my God, am I doing what needs to be done to make this happen? And it was so, just like any other musician, everyone knows when you play together, you make music, and it's about the way that people are relating to each other in the moment. Like, just because Herbie Hancock's playing doesn't mean every single person playing along necessarily has to be a virtuoso. You just have to make good music together. And so if everyone recognizes that everyone's listening, and playing together and trying to do it as a collective effort, then it's gonna sound good. It's gonna do good. and that's a big learning process, because that can be intimidating too, thinking that, you know, well, maybe you're not as good or not worthy to do that. But, you know, music beyond how, you know, people rate people as someone's better than another person or something like that. Music is just music, and it's the chemistry that people think about.
That is really
Nice.
surprising. Okay.
Grand
Question
finale.
is, and I don't know which one to ask. Maybe I should give you the choice between the two. Because I want to ask you both. One is, I hear you're mixing a lot of electronic with a lot of instruments, and I'm wondering how the process starts. Maybe it's always different, but if you start with an electronic sort of groove and then add your instruments to it, or if your musicians bring something to the table and the rest of you work around it. And my other question, choose which one is the influence of African drumming on your playing, because I know you studied drumming.
Yeah, those are. I'll go through both of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you. So the first one was
About the process with playing.
Oh yeah, well,
Creating songs.
of creating songs. I mean, it tends to be a more collaborative process. If we're starting with the real instruments first and building on top of that. Sometimes what can happen when you come from like a DJ standpoint first is you've already got most of the track produced, and it's really hard to get other voices to fit in, because you know the track that's already produced is kind of filled with all the right stuff already. You know, it's been hashed out, say in a studio or something like that, and unless it's just someone that's just, you know, DJing like a beat or something like that, it's really hard to find your way into that, because everything's already been established. Where if you're mixing it coming from an instrument perspective first, everything can get going, and if someone's jumping in there with loops or tracks or something like that, and they know what key it is, you know, there's a way you sneak that in that you can make it part of what's going on, as opposed to, I mean, it's really tricky when you hear a fully produced track and then you're playing along with it as a band. It's like everything's already there. What do I do? So, you know, it's maybe turn the band down and turn the, you know, the already produced stuff up, because that's going to sound really good. Oh, and then as far as African drumming, yeah, I've been playing African music or traditional music since about 1989, and it's just very much part of everything that I do, because when you're learning some of the traditional drumming, and not just drumming from Ghana, but from Mali and Guinea and Kenya and Democratic Republic of Congo, when you're practicing these different styles, there's all sorts of subtleties associated with it in each style. So you really get a feel for, when you approach a piece of music, is like how important the groove is. Whether it's really, really straight, like you're playing with a drum machine, or the levels of sort of swing or grooviness that you put in there to make it its own unique groove. And that's one thing that I really enjoyed about learning African music in particular, but almost any indigenous music has those things that you have to sort of try to deal with. And so it's always a part of it. And electronic music, sometimes it lends itself there more almost conceptually, because electronic music is set up in so many like layers of things, which is how traditional drum parts are set up in layers. But then you go and you go with it. Yeah, you can go as far out, but it's very established. Say like all this stuff is going on, a soloist goes out, and even though the people in the back are playing set parts, there's a certain amount of freedom that each person has to color it depending on what the soloist is doing. So you get used to operating in that mode, and of playing one groove for 20, 30 minutes at a time. So in that respect, playing electronic music or doing like a DJ type of set, setting up that sort of trance type vibe, if that's what you're going for, you know, lends itself, is a lot closer to, you know, learning like traditional African or indigenous music.
Great.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And I'm with the Grateful Web.
Oh, Grateful Web. All right, right on.
Sweet.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thanks so much. Sorry
Yeah,
for the
thanks for coming
mix-up.
down. No